Chamberlain, and I am the project manager for the COFO Civil Rights Education Center. And I made a joke yesterday to the group. I'm the custodian here. I'm the fix-it lady. I do just about everything over here. But I do have a lot of help from the Hanger Institute as well as the veterans of the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. And I would like to welcome you all to the COFO Center. This is still a work in progress. However, we are just, tomorrow we will be 1 week out from our official grand opening. So we are really excited about that, and this building has gone through a major transformation over the past year and a half. Well, not even a year and a half. June will make 1 year since we first started seeing some visual changes here. Now, I hope you enjoyed the exhibit that is here. It does focus on the Council of Federated Organizations. If you get the opportunity before you leave here, there's also another exhibit on the opposite end of the building, which I started taking down, but I'll leave it up until I get noticed. But it is courtesy of the Children's Defense Fund. And the header banner, the head banner is supposed to be up, but it's just standing anyhow. And it's focusing on 5 extraordinary African-American women who played a pivotal role in the Mississippi Delta during the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. So please take an opportunity to also go out and do that exhibit. Even though the signs up there say no food, no drinks, I'm going to make an exception for you all as well, because I have a friend who went to Baylor, one of my grad career classmates, and there are snack machines on the opposite end of the building. So if you would like to get snacks or drinks, please feel free to do so, and don't hesitate to bring them in here. But again, welcome. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen within the city, or just any questions in general about the civil rights movement here in the state of Mississippi, you have the best people to talk to right here, Mr. Watkins and Mrs. Williams, because they live those are their experiences, and we are standing on the shoulders of these individuals. So again, welcome. If you have questions, ask. And I will see you all again when we take the walking tour right here.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And Dr. Chambers really being really modest when she says that she's a custodian and all that, even though she is. But when I tell you that also she's a great historian and a great storyteller, and her focus is on youth in the movement, and this is a remarkable speaker and a remarkable person that has a lot of information. So I just don't want her to undercut and then make it seem like this is all she does. Because she is marvelous, and I think that you will experience her once we go on the walking tour. You will be able to get a whole lot of information from this young, dynamic professor. Well, moving right along. First, we have with us initially when we received the email from Dr. Sorrell, it was sort of short notice, but we were able to pull together some magnificent team. I think that will be able to share the movement here in Mississippi with you, and that's definitely what the Hanger Institute does. And I think that we can pride ourselves on not only being able to articulate the narrative of the movement, but we're able to do that by bringing in people that were involved in the movement. And I think that once when you read something, you get it, you understand it a little bit, but you understand it even more once you hear it from people that were actually involved in the movement. And so that's what we're able to do at the Hamer Institute, is to pull our partners in through the veterans of the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement and through just relationships that we've established over the years with people that have been involved in the movement. First, we have Ms. Dolores Lynch Williams, and she's going to tell you her story, and I'm going to move on and just let them go ahead and just get started in just a second. But Ms. Dolores Lynch Williams is a freedom rider. Please write that name down, Google it, look it up, look up her mugshot on Google. It is there, you laughing.
It's here too, I'm going to pass it around.
Yeah, so she's going to tell you her story and everything, and how she got involved with that. And then we have also a young man that's been with us. I know he's been with us longer than I have. But this young man here is Mr. Hollis Watkins. Another name that you should write down on Google and get to know this young man as well. He's been involved in the movement and he's also a great songster. And before we leave, he's going to share some information about how songs played a magnificent part in the movement, and he's also going to probably get you engaged in that as well. And so at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor and get started with Ms. Dolores Lynch-Williams. But before they come, let's give them, as my director would always say, a rousing round of applause.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing this morning? I'm so thankful that you all had a safe trip here, and so wonderful to see such beautiful faces. My name is Dolores Lynch-Williams, and I am from Jackson, Mississippi. Growing up in Jackson, Mississippi, I saw a lot of things that were not right concerning black people. Well, back then we were called colored people, okay? And now we're called black. And then at one time we were called African Americans, okay? Anyways, but first of all, I would like to truly give honor to God, who's truly the head of my life, because if it had not been for him, I would not be here today. And I know it's only because of his love, his grace, and his mercy that he extended toward me. And I'm so thankful for it. Because for such a time as this, he has allowed me to be here to tell my story, which is really the truth, so that he alone will receive all of the honor, the glory, and the praise. Growing up in Jackson, Mississippi, I saw the signs. I saw the colored signs only. I saw the white signs only. On bathroom doors, restaurants that you could not go in. The libraries were for whites only. We had one library on Mill Street that we could go to. We could also go to the library at Jackson State College. It was Jackson State College at the time, not university. The schools were segregated. The churches were segregated. Most of everything was segregated when it came to black people, because white people thought they were better than us. That's maybe a terrible thing to say, but it's the truth. We had 3 black schools. We had Lanier High School, we had Brinkley High School, we had Jim Hill High School. The black children, well back then they say colored. The colored children walked to school. The whites rode buses. But you know what though? We got a lot of exercise, and that was really good. So I never gained a lot of weight anyways, but I really stayed neat and trim because we walked a long way to school. We also had, we had 4 black colleges because the white colleges were off limits to us. So we had Jackson State College, which I'm a graduate of and did further studies there. We had Alcorn, some people say Alcorn. We had Tougaloo, and we also had Mississippi Valley. And we could attend those universities, the black colleges, but the whites were off limits to black children. I just saw so many things going on. You could be, I remember one evening, I was standing outside with some friends, and the policemen, didn't matter the area you lived in, they would come by and take out a big flashlight and shine it on the black male, you know, not the girl. They did those things, and that was really a form of harassment. No matter how old a black man or a black lady were, they were referred to as uncle, aunt, some people say aunt, boy or girl. If we were going down the street, if we were walking down this side of the street and some whites would get on that side, you know, they wanted you to go to the other side of the street. They want you walking on the side that they were on. The buses were segregated, the public buses, and if somebody got on a bus, the first of all, let me tell you, the whites really and truly, I would say from here, and I'm not making this up, I would say from here up here, and then maybe you had just a little section back here for black people. But guess what? If somebody white got on the bus and you were seated, guess what? They want the black person to get up so the white person could be seated. Okay, I'm 15 years old, but I know all of these things are not right. My parents knew they were not right either, but my parents had to, you know, pay a house note, they had to feed the children, they had to do all these things. I didn't have to do any of those things. So we started going to down the street to the Messiah Temple building, and you all go walking, you all will see that building. And we had leaders coming in, such as James Bevel, we had Bernard Lafayette coming in, and they were talking about injustices and everything, and you know, we knew all of these things were wrong. We knew they were wrong. And so we started listening and everything, and and so we always did go to church. And by me being a teenager, if I wanted to go to church, I could always do that. So we had decided that we were going to go down to the Trailway bus station. It's not there anymore. And we went down to the Trailway bus station. But to them, we were on the wrong side because we were on the white side. We did not go to the color side to purchase a ticket. And they wanted us to move, so we did not move. So they said that we were disturbing the peace. Now, I did not disturb anybody's peace. They really disturbed my peace because I was doing in my heart what I feel was the right thing to do. I feel that if they could purchase a ticket at the white counter, you know, I'm a young black girl, and if a young white girl went there could purchase a ticket, I should be able to purchase one too. But that was not the case. So they had the policemen there with the guns, with the blackjacks. They had a big black paddy wagon outside, and it was a picture in there of the paddy wagon. And I really want you all to look at it because that's exactly how it looked. And so, because we did not move on, they arrested us, and they put us in this black paddy wagon, and we were taken to jail. I was first taken to the county jail, and I was fingerprinted and took a mug shot, and I was very angry. And I'm going to pass this around, and you all can see how I look. Don't laugh at my mug shot now. And my number is 21158. Later on, I learned that 8 in the Bible is the number that stands for a new beginning. At the time, I didn't realize that. So once we were taken there to the county jail, then I was taken to the city jail. And I stayed in jail for 11 days. Now mind you, my parents were told that I was there, but they were not allowed to see me. So you can imagine how devastating and how heartbreaking that was for my parents, being told that your daughter is there, but you really don't know if she's there or not because you're not allowed to see her. But I stayed there for 11 days, and once I was released from jail, I was put on probation for 1 year and on curfew for 1 year, which meant if I had broken any of these, which I feel like they shouldn't have put me on anything that they did, but if I had not done what I was supposed to do, then I would have been arrested again at 15 years of age. Some people have asked me, did anybody bother me while I was in jail? I was in a cell by myself. Some young women were in jail with 2 or 3 others, but I was put in jail in a cell by myself. Nobody bothered me. And later on this year, I was just thinking, and it was like the Holy Spirit just let me know that during that particular time, if someone had tried to bother you, they could not have. Because if they had looked in that cell, I don't know how many of you are familiar in the Bible with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You all familiar with them? You know, they looked in there and they saw somebody. So the Holy Spirit let me know that if someone had tried to bother me, that when they looked in there, they would have seen somebody else in that cell with me. And I just thank thank him for his divine protection. I really and truly do. He took care of me and sustained me. I'm still here today. I have 4 beautiful daughters who I'm so very proud of. They did not have to go through the things that I went through with. 2 of my daughters graduated from Jackson State University and also received their master's degrees from Jackson State University. I also, my baby daughter went to Mississippi State University and received her master's degree from Mississippi State University. My 3rd daughter went to Hines Junior College. My 3rd daughter received her specialist from Mississippi College, and now she's about to receive her doctorate from Mississippi State University. And I have a grandson who is an honor student at Ole Miss. I'm not bragging on my children. I said all of that to say this. Those universities were off limit to their mother and to his grandmother, but they're able to go. James Merritt was the first black that attended Ole Miss. But if he had not been guarded, if he had not been protected, they probably would have killed him. I remember when Emmett Till was murdered. I was 9 years of age, but I remember that. They even had a song out about Emmett Till. And we visited a Bryan grocery store last year, the place that he went when he was allegedly accused of whistling at this white lady. Later on, I found out that Emmett had a lisp. You heard that sound, a lisp? So a lot of time when he talked, it probably came out as a whistle. I don't believe he whistled at her. I believe because of his speech impediment that it could have sounded as if it were a whistle. But anyways, the wife told her husband, and then the husband and the stepbrother, we were shown the railroad track that they crossed to go to his uncle's house to literally take him out of there and to beat him and then to throw his body into this river. Now mind you, his mom showed his body at the funeral the way it actually looked because he was beaten severely. Young people, all of those things are so very wrong. I believe that all of us should have the same equal rights, no matter the color of our skin, because we're all created by Heavenly Father. And I pray that when you all go back, that you all will be able to tell some of the things that were spoken here today, and that you all will just get on a path and you just want to help somebody. Do what you know is in your heart, and the right thing to do. Don't do anything so you can seek fame or fortune, because at a very young age, I did not do anything to seek any kind of accolades or to become famous or to gain any kind of monetary gains. I didn't do it for that. I just saw that something was very wrong and that something needed to be done to correct the situation. And when I was initially put in that paddy wagon, I really was not afraid, because at 15 years of age, and a lot of you know this being young people, you don't fear a lot of things. You really don't. But much later on, I did realize that they really could have taken us off. They really could have beat us. They could have killed us. They probably could have just thrown our bodies somewhere we never would have been found again. But because of the grace of God, that did not happen to us. And then I had told my parents I was going to church. That was a lie. It's wrong to lie, young people. I'm not encouraging you to lie. But I lied for a good reason. And that's what I tell a lot of young people when I speak. I did it for a very good cause. And I just thank you all so very much for listening today. And I passed the magazine around, and so you saw that mug shot of me when I was 15 years old. But it's just such a wonderful blessing just to stand here and just to look at your beautiful faces. And I just know that the Lord, He just has so many wonderful things for you guys to do, but you need to remain on the right path. And whatever you do, let it come from your heart. Don't try to seek any kind of fame or fortune. Because when we all started out years ago, we did not do it for that reason. Thank you all so very much.
How's everybody feeling?
Feeling good.
That was a question, not rhetorical. How's everybody feeling?
Good.
That's much better. So if you're feeling good, it makes me feel good. And it's an honor for me to be here this morning to speak with you. And as you should know, and if you don't, my name is Hollis. And I am the youngest of 12 children. My parents were sharecroppers, born in Lincoln County, Mississippi. At the time that I was born, fear permeated the state of Mississippi and continued for quite some time. Racism, discrimination was the name of the game. It was against the law for black and white to meet in the same room. If you were in the same room, you had to have a partition that extended upward of 8 feet that divided the two of you. That's a little bit of what Mississippi was like. The whites had their own schools, the blacks had our own schools, and the school that I attended was a one-room school. And many of us never had the opportunity to go to school. And many of us that went to school, we went to school during the season when farming was not taking place. As a young man, I was told that if you're walking down the sidewalk and if you meet white people, you step off to the side. Because if you didn't, and it was a man, he may consider that to be disrespectful. And he might hit you, kick you, or even have you put in jail. And if it was a white woman, you definitely had to step off to the side and drop your head and look down. Because if you didn't, she could charge you with eyeball rape. And that could possibly mean death. Now, I'm not sure whether any of you know what eyeball rape is, but I have you to know that since I made that statement, I have eyeball raped every female that is in this audience. So that's just how easy it was simply to look in the eye of a female, and that could mean death. It's also very important for us to know that the vast majority of people that were involved in the civil rights movement were young people. And I'm talking about people that was less than 18 years of age, 18 and less. Listen, I first got involved when I was 17 with the NAACP Youth Chapter. Then, at the age of 19, got involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Being involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, I got involved in doing the sit-in demonstration. We had intended to do the demonstration at the library because they have a black library here in Jackson. Jackson, the capital, big city, but in the small towns and in the rural, there were no public libraries for blacks to go to. So we decided we were going to integrate the public library in Macomb But it was closed the day we went. And we settled for going to the Woolworths lunch counter and had a sit-in demonstration there. Most of the work that I did was pertaining to trying to get black people registered to vote. Even as late as 1964, less than 4% of all of the blacks in Mississippi that was old enough to register had registered. The only place in Mississippi you could find black elected officials was a small town in the Delta, Mississippi, that's called Mound Bayou. Other than that, there were no black elected officials. At that particular time, it was only 3 black attorneys in the entire state of Mississippi. So you can imagine the kind of work that they had cut out for them when we got involved in the civil rights movement and began to go to jail. And we were told when we first went to jail, be prepared to serve your time out. Later on, we were told we should be able to get bond money within about 30 days. What made it so hard? What made it so hard to get bond for people to get out of jail? One of the reasons is because they would not accept property bond. They only accept cash money. And most of our people didn't have a lot of that. My family, for example, when I first enrolled in Tougaloo College, my parents made less than $700 per year. There were others that were not as affluent as we were. Few did more. The average salary for black people at that particular time was from $12 to $15 a week. So, our people were struggling. When we began to try to get people registered to vote, they gave us what was called a literacy test. And they used that test to make sure that we didn't become registered voters. In some cases, they might ask you, how many bubbles is in a bar of soap? How many grains of sand is in this jar? What they were saying to you, it didn't make any difference. What answer you gave, you would not become a registered voter. Many people thought that it was because we couldn't properly interpret sections of the Mississippi Constitution. But in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, we had school teachers, college professors, and some law students that went down and attempted to register. And when they finished, they turned that test in, and they all flunked. The person that was flunking them had a little less than a 6th grade education. So it wasn't about whether you passed the test, it was about the color of your skin. We also, as a result of being involved in the movement, and I'm going to move swiftly, that time when I got arrested for at Woolworth, I spent 34 days in jail. I got arrested in a number of different other places, but at one time, for trying to get people registered to vote, I was sent to Parchment Penitentiary, where I spent 55 days in maximum security unit on death row. On death row, at one end of the row is the electric chair, the other end is solitary confinement. And before going there, working on the county farm, which they used to call the chain gang, I had to look down the barrels of guns, shotguns, automatic rifles that white people would come by, go in the trunk of that car and pull out and say, yeah, this is a nigga I'm gonna kill. The question is whether I want to blow his brains out or his guts out. We had to go through some of that. As my sister Dolores has just mentioned, the churches were segregated as well. I received one of my worst beatings for attempting to go to a church. So we had to go through a lot of things. You mentioned that we're in the building that's called COFO. COFO was an umbrella organization that all of the major civil rights organizations in Mississippi decided to work under so that we wouldn't be competing for the same small dollars that was out there, but we go as a unit and raise funds rather than I'm with SNCC, I'm with SCLC, I'm with CORE, I'm with the NAACP. We wanted the COFO because what we found out was that there's just a little money out there. And 4 different organizations competed, going to the same person, raise money to do the same thing in Mississippi. The national officials didn't like it, but we said, this is what's best for Mississippi. We want what is best for Mississippi. So we formed COFO, Council of Federated Organizations. Coming out of COFO, we also brought into existence the Freedom Vote Project. Because the white folk were saying, black folks don't want to register to vote. They don't want to vote, that's why they're not registered. So we wanted to prove to the world that we were not intimidated, threatened, that okay. Maybe they don't want me to tell it. So we said, we put on the Freedom Vote. Prove that if black people are not threatened, intimidated, they would register to vote. And as a result of our Freedom Vote campaign, this is where we ran different people for different offices. We had nearly 90,000 black people in the state of Mississippi that came out and participated in the voting process with the Freedom Vote campaign. We also started an independent political organization, which was called the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, that challenged the regular seating of the delegates at the National Convention of the regular Democratic Party of Mississippi in 1964. That's when Fannie Lou Hamer had the opportunity to give her speech before the Credentials Committee. We thought we had everybody lined up to support the Freedom Democratic Party and our delegation would be seated. But Lyndon Johnson was afraid that the white folks from Mississippi would not vote for him. That he didn't want to lose the white vote in Mississippi. And he was right. They would not vote for him because ultimately, whether they seated the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party or not, the white folks in Mississippi did not support his campaign. But to make sure that the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party was not seated, he told Hubert Humphrey that if you want to be on this ticket with me and become the vice president of the United States, then you have to do what's necessary to stop the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party from being seated. And Hubert Humphrey told Mondale that if you want to occupy this seat that I will be vacating, you got to help me make sure that the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party is not seated. So many things have gone on that we've been a part of that helps us to enjoy a little bit of this freedom that we're enjoying today. A couple of other things I just want to mention, and then I will ask us to sing a couple songs, and then the Flunzy is not here at that time. We'll open up for questions. Many people have read about the 3 summer volunteers, Cheney, Goodman, and Swerner. But I want us to know one of those was a summer volunteer. Swerner and Cheney were core staff members that was already working. They went to Oxford, Ohio to be a part of the training of the summer volunteers that was coming. Goodwin was one of those volunteers. I know you probably heard and read about the name of Fannie Lou Hamer. However, you may not have heard of the name Amzie Moore. Had there not been Amzie Moore, there would not have been a Fannie Lou Hamer. It was Amzie Moore that introduced us to Fannie Lou Hamer in order to try to get her involved in the movement. Just like if there had not been an Ella Baker, there would not have been a student nonviolent coordinating committee. So it's important for us to know that and understand that connection. Songs were a very, very vital part of the civil rights movement that motivated, inspired us to keep on keeping on, even though you are in the drunk tank, even though you are in solitary confinement, as I was. Solitary confinement at Parchman was a 6x6 concrete cell. They put 14 of us in there at one time. They also, part of the time, had me on death row, handcuffed to the bars. So it was the songs that kept us to go on and on. So I want to ask us to sing a couple of verses of a couple of these songs, and then, like I said, if Lindsay's not here, we're going to entertain some questions. The first song is an invitation song, which is "Get on Board, Little Children, Let's Fight for Human Rights." Anybody know that song? Let me see your hand. Don't worry about it. You can learn it just like that. 30 seconds or so. Get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, let's fight for human rights. Let's see how good the students we are, or whether I'm a good teacher. Or both. Get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, let's fight for human rights. I hear those mobs are howling, they're coming round the square. Send kids, those freedom fighters, but we gonna beat them there. Oh, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, let's fight for human rights. As fighters we go hungry, sometimes we go to jail, but when you fight for freedom, a friend will go your bail. Get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, let's fight for human rights. That's another song. After you've been given the invitation to get on board, you don't want folks to be scared on board, because a lot of fighting has to take place in different places. So we sang this song that's called "Ain't Scared of Nobody Because I Want My Freedom." Don't worry about the English. It's not about an English class and all that. It's about communicating. All right. Anybody know that song? Got one. You want to come help me lead? That's it.
I know parts of it.
All right. We're gonna do the whole thing. Ain't scared of nobody, cause I want my freedom, I want my freedom, I want my freedom. Ain't scared of nobody, cause I want my freedom, I want my freedom now. Alright, let's do it, everybody. Ain't scared of nobody, cause I want my freedom, I want my freedom, I want my freedom. Ain't scared of nobody, cause I want my freedom, I want my freedom now. I march downtown cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I march downtown cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. Hey, look, they brought out the dogs. The bishops were, when they stood up on their feet, they would look you dead in the eye. But what we did was added a verse for the dogs, right? Ain't scared of no dogs, cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of no dogs, cause I want my freedom.
I want my freedom now. And then they said, if you don't stop, turn around and go back, we're going to put all of you in jail. See, jail was a frightening place for black folks in Mississippi. Most black folks who went to jail had terrible things that happened to them, but especially if you were a black man. Many of you never made it out alive, so the jail was a frightening thing. But when they said that to us, we added a verse for the jail. It said, ain't scared of no jail, cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Ain't scared of no jail, cause I want my freedom. I want my freedom now. All right. In 30 seconds. All right. Just in time. We got our sister Flunky that's coming up here. And I made my presentation. We sang a couple songs. So right now, come on up and share your story with us for about 10 minutes or so. And then we will come back. We'll open up the floor for the questions. That way you have a trio. You can ask the questions.
Sure.
First of all, hey, Sister Vera. I apologize for my tardiness today. I had an unexpected personal emergency through the night. And you know, when you wake up through the night and you're not feeling your very best and you can't get back to sleep, and then you go to sleep at 6 in the morning. Oh, you're too young for that, but anyway. But I do apologize for not being here, as I should have. That is okay. You're in. I'm really so proud of Keith for his creativity and his networking ability to be able to collaborate with colleges and universities across the country to bring students to Mississippi to learn our story. I served on the faculty at Miami University for 6 years, and I had the opportunity to bring many of my students to Mississippi to talk about and to learn and to meet some of the movers and the shakers who were involved during that era. I also co-wrote the curriculum at Miami University, Black Issues in Higher Education. As you probably know, Miami U and Oxford, as well as our 2 other satellite campuses, this is a predominantly white university. And we felt that in order to be able to give a well-rounded curriculum to all of our students, it was necessary to pen those words. And we were very, very delighted because many white students took that course. They came away with a better understanding of why we wear afros and why some of us still put the pics in our hair, all those kinds of things. Some of those things are cultural things. So certainly, I do believe that that had an impact on them. I'm Flonzy Brown Wright. I'm a native Mississippian. I have had the opportunity to work and travel in many areas of the country. I've probably logged in now over 1 million miles in my travels, speaking and lecturing and teaching and speaking. I'm headed to Prairie Review in a few days to spend a few days in the women's department. They're talking about women's issues. So I have been very, very blessed to be able to do the kinds of things that I do. I want to really kind of do a springboard on something that Dolores talked about yesterday. And I know you had, really, you don't need me because between Ms. Williams and Mr. Watkins, you had a great Mississippi history lesson. Is that correct? Let's give them a big hand. But I want to talk about why we were involved in this movement. If I were to, and I've written about it in my book, Looking Back to Move Ahead, and as a peace offering for being tardy today, I have brought Keith 5 books to just give to you, however he chooses to do it, to read my story. We didn't get involved in the civil rights movement because we wanted to be famous or to make a lot of money. There's no money. There have been times when we would have to go to freedom meetings. We barely had 2 nickels to rub together to buy gas. We didn't have resources because we didn't have the kind of jobs, and our families didn't have the kind of jobs and employment that people have today. So we were just kind of, in one of the chapters in my book is called Caught Up. You wake up one morning and you're just caught up. You see the things on TV, you hear about the beatings, you hear about the jails, you see things on TV and you read and you know neighbors who went out to a freedom meeting and got beat up. And you don't plan and say, well, on June 12th, I'm going to get involved. You wake up one day and oops, there it is. As we say, in your face. And then you know that there's something there that you have to do. From a child, I always knew that my role in life was to help people. And one of the ways that I knew that, living in this little farm and country community called Farm Haven, at 4 years old, I would ask my mother, Mother, take me down to Miss Mag's house. I want to comb her hair, and I'm 4. Because I would see her at church, and she was an old lady, and she was kind of disheveled, and I would say, Mother, I want to comb Miss Mag's hair. I couldn't comb my own hair. And I would say, I want to wash her dishes. I want to sweep her yard, because we didn't have grass, we just had a dirt yard. You just swept the dirt up, you just cleaned the dirt yard. And so I knew that I had been selected for a special assignment in life. And so as I grew and wanted to be a person who is known as helping people, my civil rights career began in 1963. My defining moment was the day that Medgar Evers was assassinated. I was living in Biloxi, down on the Gulf Coast, working in a little cafe. And every day, prior to his assassination, every day, 3 black attorneys would come into the restaurant. And I would serve them. And I would just kind of linger around because I wanted to hear these. I had never seen a black attorney. Because as a little child, I wanted to be an attorney. But my hero was Perry Mason, because that's all I knew. But to be able to sit in the mix and serve soup and sandwiches to the 3 black attorneys from Jackson, Carsey Hall, R.J. Brown, and Jack Young, those were my history lessons. And I would hear them talk about who they had to get out of jail, because we were in the process, they were in the process of integrating the beaches. I was not involved, because I knew nothing about civil rights. I had been reared in a family. On one side, I come from the slave culture. My grandparents and great-grandparents on my dad's side came from the slave side. The folk on my mom's side came from the white, Caucasian, and Irish side. So I have a mixed culture of understanding both of those cultures. But to hear those men talk about how much money had to be raised to get all these folk out of jail and who had got beaten, it just began to stir something up in me. And then the day that I learned that Medgar Evers was assassinated, I did not know Medgar. But what touched my heart was the fact that if a man in America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, could be shot down in this city because he attended an NAACP meeting, shot down in the presence of his wife and children, that said to me, all was not well. That America, you must let your people go. So that was my defining moment, and I just didn't know what to do. And I started going to the meetings in Biloxi. I started leading those freedom songs like Brother Hollis, and I know he's taking me through a litany of those because he does it so very well. And I began to get involved, and I came back to my hometown of Canton, Mississippi, just 15, 20 miles north of here, and I continued my involvement. I've had an opportunity to work with many of the people that you have read about. Let me tell you, you said I got 10, so I must have about 5 now. Let me tell you my favorite Dr. King story. I met Dr. King on 2 occasions. In June 1966, when James Meredith began a one-man's walk against fear, it wasn't supposed to be a march. Mr. Meredith wanted to show that a black man could walk along an interstate highway without being harmed. Well, when he left, he started in Memphis, and when he got 18 miles south of Memphis in Hernando, Mississippi, he was shot in the shoulder. And of course, Dr. King was called in to complete that march because they were marching from Memphis to Jackson, about a 200-mile trek. So 18 miles out, he was shot. Dr. King came in, and this brought people out of the woodworks from the Delta, Indianola, Sunflower County, Sharkey County, all over the northern part of the state. People came to join that march. Now, at that time, I was very, very active in my community, and so someone told Dr. King that if you want to get something done in Kent, because they were coming to Kent, because I'm sure he's told you that in Canton, every organization settled or had its headquarters or some presence in Canton because of its potential voting population. There were about 100 black folk registered during that period with a potential of more than 10,000. And so the thrust was, let's do voter registration. So every organization, COFO, SNCC, VEP, NAA, Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, everybody had some presence in Madison County. So when they were about 60 miles from Canton, one day my telephone rang, and it was Dr. King. And I answered the phone as I usually do, trying to be kind of cute. Hello, it was that out there. Anyway, he said, and at that time my name was Goodlow. He says, "This Flonzie Goodlow?" I said, "Yes, it is." We didn't have caller ID and all this cute stuff we have now. I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Well, this is Martin King." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, sir. How may I help you?" He said, "Well, I've been told along this march by many Mississippi leaders that if you want to get something done in Canton," remember I told you I'm a person who like to help folks, call Flonzie Goodlow. And he did. I said, "Well, sir, thank you. How can I help you?" He says, "You know we're on our way to Canton. Can you provide housing and food for 3,000 people?" Well, I was not about to tell Dr. King no, I wasn't. And I said, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." And so as the marchers were nearing Canton, everybody who could cook a bologna sandwich, I alerted the town that these marchers are coming. We've got to feed them, we've got to house them, and by the time they arrived in Canton on a hot June Wednesday afternoon, I had pulled the community together, and folks were cooking neck bone soup. They were cooking oxtail soup, chicken feet, dumplings, and cornbread. Not cheesy grits, cornbread and peas and all those kinds of food items so that we could feed those hungry marchers. I had also provided homes, and I didn't do this by myself, but I was the charge person. Folks opened up their homes, their backyards, their front porches. We had quilts and blankets. Folks were sleeping everywhere. I wish you could have been here during that time to see the unity, to see the togetherness. And so by the time they came, the Catholic Church opened up its gymnasium for people to sleep on the floor of the jail. And so in a meeting with him that next day, he pulled 12 of us together. It was just almost like Jesus and the disciples. He pulled 12 of us together. Stokely Carmichael, Andy Young, Dr. King, and Floyd McKissick, and some other local people. And this is what he said to us. He said, "My days are numbered. I won't be with you very long. But you must carry on this struggle. You must carry on this struggle as long as you see pockets of poverty, discrimination, alienation, injustice. You must carry on this struggle until you are satisfied that all is well." And we made a vow. We made a commitment that day, not only to him, but to ourselves, that as long as we had breath, that we would be about the business of trying to eradicate discrimination. And then he turned to me and asked me if I would sing that old song of the movement, "Oh Freedom." Did you sing it yet, Hollis? And I led him in the song, "Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom over me. And before I be your slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free." Then there's another verse, "No more crying, no more dying." See, it was the songs that made us free. It was the songs that said to us, no matter what our challenges are, no matter what's going on in our communities, if we can sing, and that came from our ancestors when they were in those fields, picking the cotton from sunup until sundown. They knew how to send messages to the other folk in the other fields. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. So it was the songs that made us free. And from that inspiration, from meeting him, working with him, I had an opportunity to introduce Dr. King on the same courthouse steps where Time to Kill was spelled, where many blacks had been run out of just trying to register and vote. But in November of 1968, I had been tapped by my community to run for public office, the office of the election commissioner, because that's where the root of all the injustices would continue to take place. And on November the 5th, 40 years to the day that President Barack Obama was elected, I became the first African-American female to be elected to a public office in Mississippi since Reconstruction, except a little town in North Mississippi called Mount Baylor, which is black, all black, mayor, commissioners, board, everybody. But for a biracial town in Mississippi, I became the first woman to hold an elected office in 1968, because I wanted to correct many of the voting injustices that had been going on in my community. People getting run out of the courthouse, being cussed out. But people, can you imagine going to register, and then the next day in the newspaper, your name appears in the newspaper. So if you work for white people in the town, you lost your job. Can you imagine having to fill out a 21-item questionnaire, and on some of those questions were as ludicrous, and I'm not talking about the rap artists, were as ludicrous as how many bubbles are in a bar of soap? How many jelly beans are in a pound of candy? How many polka dots are in a yard of fabric? And you had to answer those crazy questions to the satisfaction of the registrar. And so this is what now your journey is about. And let me give you your assignment if you haven't gotten it. A job is 8 to 5. An assignment is 24/7. Your assignment, young people, is to become the Hollis Watkins, to become the Dolores Letch Williams, to become the Medgar Evers, the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Rosa Parks, the Emmett Tills, the 4 little girls in Birmingham. Your job, when you go back to your campus, is to be sure that everybody on your hall is registered, everybody in your family is registered, everybody in your community, your church, your Boys and Girls Club, wherever you hang out and chill, you got to be sure that everybody with whom you come in contact is a registered voter. Too many of our people died for this precious right in this state. Some made it and some didn't. So that's your assignment. to go back on fire, to get caught up in what's happening in our nation today, and to be sure that when history is rewritten, it will contain your names, and your names, and your names, because you tried to effectuate change and make a difference. One day, we're going to have a female president of this country. I never thought I would live to see an African-American president. And all that foolishness they saying about him, well, you take it like you want to take it. It's foolishness. One day we're going to have a female president. And for all that I know, I may be looking in her face, in your face, in your face. It's going to happen. I could be looking in the face of the first female president of the United States of America. Why not you? God bless you, and thank you, and thank you for your journey.
Now, we have a few more minutes, and we're going to open up for questions that you might want to ask either of us. Who has the first one? Yes?
I have a question about the music. I guess we talked about how important it was in the movement. What do you think about the music that is in our society today and how it kind of infiltrates our mind with kind of negative images and ideologies about ourselves and about our culture?
I think it's unfortunate, but it's one thing that we all must understand. That is that we have enemies that's out there. And our enemies will always attempt to perpetuate the negative and cause us and use us wherever possible to do that. The enemy will also publicize the negative and will not publicize the positive, just like there's the negative stuff that's out there, they're positive. But the positive is not accentuated. It is the negative. We have to know and understand that and let it become our responsibility to accentuate the positive rather than the negative. There's a lot of the positive stuff out there, but you don't see where it is publicized, because it's not in the best interest of our enemies. And they have us looking specifically, for the most part, as the dollar. And they know, regardless of how many of those we get, we can never get it to the tune that they got it. So, it's like a dog going round and round chasing his tail, you never catch up with it. That's how they want us to do. Just like today, they have bought in, and too many of us have bought into the concept that young folks ain't about nothing these days. The young folks ain't gonna be nothing. They're not interested in this. And too many of us have bought into that. And it's in their best interest to make us buy into that, because they see that when young people make up their mind and go after something, then that's a powerful force. They got examples of that right before their eyes as a part of the civil rights movement. It says, wow, we can never let these young folks feel that they have a certain amount of power, and let them come together. So we've got to keep the divided peace that's out there. So we'll grab a few of them and have them going down this road, and we publicize them to make it look as if this is the thing going down this way. So that's how I see that. Other questions?
One of the main things that hits me about the civil rights movement is the level of police brutality. And how do y'all feel about the way that hasn't changed that much since the civil rights movement? That there is still that high level of police brutality on individual actions.
Yeah, but let me let me take a stab at that one. During the civil rights movement, and I have colleagues here who can certainly help add their spin on this as well. During the civil rights movement, we understood that we were in a fight. We were in a fight about justice. We were fighting the enemy, our enemy, who did not want us to have these rights to vote and to have good employment and have decent homes. So the fight then was about trying to eradicate discrimination. The police brutality today is about a whole other issue. People aren't going to jail now because they went to register. Much of the police brutality now because the culture has changed. As we say, the script has been flipped. The culture has changed. Folk are not going to jail for killing people, killing each other, killing the mom and the dad and all the babies. And so the issues have changed. And so our beatings were because we were trying to stand up against a system that said, listen, you black, you ain't got no business up in my face talking to me like that. That was the time in Mississippi when if a black family was walking on the sidewalk and a white family was meeting you on that same sidewalk, we had to get off the sidewalk in the street and let them pass, so that we wouldn't accidentally bump up against them and get beat up for that. See, we don't have those issues now. Our issues now are drugs. You know, every time I turn the TV at night, somebody got shot last night, shot up a car, shot up a house. So the culture has changed. But it's wrong. It's still wrong. And I wish that we could still try and find other ways to look at issues in the community. But folk aren't going to jail now because we went to register or we're in a picket line as it was. Did that hit us some?
Yes.
Thank you.
And so let me add one other little piece. It's important for us to know that this whole thing is about domination and control. Racism is just one of the tools that people use to make sure that they continue to dominate and control. They will teach you something that leads to your destruction based on them doing certain things. It's like, we're going to convince young folks to get heavy off into drugs. We're going to help them be able to figure out where to get them from and all of that. And once they get them, yeah, we're going to come down, we're going to beat them, we're going to do this, do that. Controlling you by having you to do those things that is against your very being. That's why it's important for us to think for ourselves. There was an example of that back in the 60s and the 70s where the Black Panther Party, they infiltrated the Black Panther Party and said, hey, look, you need to get away from this political stuff and economic stuff and start killing some of these white folks. Call them pigs. What do you do for pigs? You kill pigs. You eat them and all that kind of stuff. You know, so off the pig. You know, this should be your slogan, off the pig. I can tell you where you can get some guns easily. And when you get ready, then you make a big plan to kill a lot of them. But just before you can execute your plan, they come down on you and justify doing whatever it is that they do to you, including killing some of you because you stepped outside. So we have to be aware and cautious of that. Yes?
First of all, thank you all for speaking to us today. It's been really educational. You've all spoken about it a little bit, but as the culture has changed so much, would you talk a little bit about what you think the major issues in civil rights as the struggle continues, what they are today?
I don't want to be just doing all the talking, but if you want me to, I will.
And I'll add on that. You may keep going.
No, I'm not having to say nothing.
Well, voter apathy. Voter apathy. See, there was a time when, before we got this right to vote in 1963, we scheduled a mock election. This was before we got the right to vote in 1963. We ran candidates to see what our voting potential would be. And then we got the right to vote shortly thereafter. But today is voter apathy. You got people saying, hey, you know, I got to watch as the word turned. Well, the world is turned, but it's turned without it. And so we had such pride and dignity in the fact that we had now become first-class citizens. We had now written our name on the dotted line in the big registration book. So we walked to the polls. I mean, if we had to walk 3 or 4 miles to the polls, we just walked. And now we can't walk next door. You know, because technology too has a part in that. We just got complacent. We just got comfortable. My vote won't count. Your vote will count. They're going to do it the way they want to do it anyway. They want if you go out and vote. So I'm saying voter apathy, complacency, too many excuses, and my vote won't count. Your vote will count. Some years ago, I was president of my local union. A young lady was who I trained to administer some of our collective bargaining policies of South Carolina, wanted to run against me, and that was fine. She was a good president. But I felt that I had been tapped again to run for president. I won by 1 vote, and I supervised 8 states, 13 cities. 1 vote does count. And we still remain friends. I did her like Barack did Hillary. I wanted her top dog for me. You keep them close till you don't. So
I just like to add another footnote. That what she has just talked about is tied to education. Because when you become educated, then you become knowledgeable. Knowledge is power.
Yes.
When we go back in history, we find that it never was the intent white folks, for black folks, and poor white folks to become educated. We slipped through the crack, we got that. And we can see remnants of that going on today, especially because they know that most poor white folks and most black folks go to the public schools. And you see attack on the educational system throughout this country so that you won't get that knowledge, therefore obtain power. Someone else had their hand
What is y'all input on them not allowing anybody that's in prison or anything to vote? What is y'all input on that? Do you think they should allow them to vote?
Is that you? Is that your dish?
My take on people, first of all, I don't feel that anybody should be punished twice. And if you do something and you're punished for that, then that should settle that score. But here again, we should kind of expect things like this to come about, because this is a way by which you are preventing people from obtaining power. At the same time, when we talk about our penal system, we say it is not geared towards punishment, it is geared towards reform. So, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, and a person gets into that system, then you should have reformed them. But we know that that does not happen, because that's about bestowing power on them. And the more knowledge and power that you have, the less that you are dependent upon others. And they definitely don't want people to become personal. They want you to remain dependent as long as you possibly can. So my personal opinion is that there need to be a lot of changes along those areas, and that's one of the things that we're working on as a part of this organization, one of these organizations that I'm part of, which is the one that I'm the founder and serve as the president of, which is Southern Echo, which is a leadership development, education, and training organization that provides training and technical assistance to individuals and organizations throughout Mississippi and the South. And that's also an issue that we, as the veterans of the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement, is beginning to look at and see how we can make some moves around that issue as well. And I guess by default, I am chairperson of the Mississippi Veterans Organization here.
And a quick footnote on that, keep in mind that African Americans represent 12% of the population, okay? But yet 40 to 45% of folk who are incarcerated are in fact people of color. I lived in Ohio for 21 years and just recently returned. 6 years ago, the legislature in Ohio apportioned funds for 2 new colleges and 16 new prisons. And I would imagine that that would be the way it is probably in most states. And so if you can disenfranchise another whole group of people to keep them out of the voting arena, then that minimizes the power. So we have to tell our brother, stop selling that crap. Are we family? Can we talk? We got to tell folks to stop selling that crap. Stop sniffing that dope. Stop cooking that stuff. What is it, cocaine? Cooking a ball or whatever, sniffing it, cooking it up. We have got to find more creative ways to get our young folk involved in meaningful, positive things. Pull your britches up. I don't want to see your red drawers. Oops. I don't want to see your pants hanging down below your knees. That's if they knew the history. That's how old Master kept our fathers intact in them cotton fields. He would buy the pants 2 sizes too big, wouldn't give them a belt, so they would have to hold their pants with one hand and pull that cotton sack with the other. And that kept them from running away, because you can't hold your pants very long and run. So young men need to understand, these young ladies hanging on the corner, we got to go back. It's a lot of work we got to do. And so, because no one deserves to be disenfranchised, like you said, twice or 3 times. You know, I used to teach in a drug rehab center for 20 years in Ohio, and some of the recidivists of people who come in back and forth, when it got cold, our facility was just jammed, because they needed them 3 meals a day. Then get back out, not work. You know, I used to cook hamburgers. I used to work at Crystal Burgers. I don't cook some in onions, because I had 3 kids to feed, and I was not about to hit them streets. So I'm saying we got to find creative ways to say to our young folks, let's do it the old-fashioned way, because it worked.
I think our time has just about expired. So I'd like for us to do one more song, controversial. And this is a song that we took from Harold Belafonte, because he did this song where he said, "Day-oh, it's a day-oh, hey, daylight come and I want to go home." But we wasn't talking about going home. We were dealing with freedom. So therefore, we said, freedom, give us freedom. Hey, freedom come and it won't be long. Then we'll put a couple verses in there. Let's see if we can say that.
Can we stand? Can we stand?
We must.
Stand? Let's gotta move. We gotta move.
Got your voices right? This is notes.
from the Greyhound bus, yeah. Freedom come and it won't be long. Just to fight discrimination and this we must, yeah. Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey. Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, the psalmist says of Peter and the psalm says Paul. Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, it's only one of God that made us all, yeah. Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey! Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, the freedom fighter, we were bound in jail. Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, we had no money for to go out there, hey! Freedom come and it won't be long. But the freedom fighter, we began to shout. Freedom come and it won't be long. Then the jail doors open and we walk out, hey! Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey! Freedom come and it won't be long. Well, if you don't believe that I've been to hell, freedom come and it won't be long. Just follow me up to the Parksman jail. Freedom come and it won't be long. Freedom, freedom, hey! Freedom come and it won't be long.